Obviously, we all saw you didn't seem too thrilled with what happened yesterday with the fight at the end of practice. Just curious, your reaction and if there's going to be any additional punishment doled out for everything that went down.
Well, we'll keep all that stuff between the team. I'd say in terms of what happened in practice yesterday, the important thing is that we learn from it, that we can't do anything that's going to cost our team in a game. We coach in all aspects of the game to eliminate penalties, whether that's enforcing, holding on one-on-ones, receivers and DBs, offsides, offense, defense, false starts, whatever it may be. Listen, the result of having something like that in a game is going to be 15-yard penalties, ejections from the game, and for players and coaches specifically, fines. So we have to understand that for everything you do, there's a consequence. And we have to understand our job is to put ourselves in position to win football games. That's our job. And we don't want to do anything that goes ahead and puts us in a position where that takes away the opportunity to win games. And what happened yesterday at practice would have taken away the opportunity to win a game based on the actions on the field. So there needs to be consequences. There needs to be, a lesson learned. And we need to move forward as a team and not repeat the mistake.
Hey, Joe, at one point we saw Daniel Jones is at the bottom of the pile, which I imagine is not something you want to see. So I'm just curious, if you saw that while it was happening, what your message was to Daniel after the fact? I imagine you don't really want him around when that kind of thing's going on, but what was kind of your thoughts about that part of it?
Yeah, the message of the team was consistent for every player. So we didn't want any player in the bottom of the pile, and we didn't want any player jumping in the way they did. And that's why we took action immediately the way we did.
Scores. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Paul.
Joe, look, you've seen a lot of fights happen, I'm sure, in camp and things like that. Sometimes it's a bunch of, over-aggressive young guys who really don't know the flow. The fact that this was, certainly triggered by a bunch of veterans, Logan Ryan, Evan Ingram, does that make it more of a teaching point that, you can't have your leaders do stuff like that?
No, it's a teaching point no matter how it happens. To be honest with you, my message to the team is the reason it happened is insignificant. The result of what happened is what the consequence is going to be. And we can't have that. We can't coach that. Again, listen, they're in pads for the first day, so there's obviously an elevated intensity, urgency, chippiness, but that can't carry over into having penalties and issues like that on the field. One thing I'll say is our offense and defense have been competing very hard now for over a week against each other. This time at training camp, guys do get a little bit chippy with each other, but I'd say that stays on the field. When all of our players walked off the field yesterday, we had no issues carrying over in the locker room. There are issues in the cafeteria, the training room, anywhere else. Our guys are in here, and I wouldn't say we're laughing off the situation, but they understand that we're all on one team and we can't do that to each other. And the most important part of that lesson we have to learn is ultimately we have to eliminate bad football. Penalties are bad football. The lesson has to be we're not doing anything that's going to set our team in a position to be penalized.
Jordan. Hey, Joe, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Jordan?
We saw, obviously, there was a lot of running and push-ups that went along with it. Can you explain why, when you look at, okay, you have to suffer consequences, that's the route you take? There's a lot of people that say, hey, that's college stuff, that's high school stuff. That's not going to fly here at the NFL level.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of different ways to approach things, okay? And in terms of fights, to be honest with you, my policy has been to get guys and get them out of practice. So that happened, involved the entire team. I threw the entire team out of practice. We had more ball to go. We had 2 more periods left in practice. We had things we had to accomplish. Those were things yesterday that, robbed us of an opportunity to keep preparing, that robbed other players of reps to go out there and compete. So generally, we just basically ended practice at that point. We're going to go ahead and get our conditioning in. We had things planned for conditioning anyway. However, listen, when something happens, there needs to be feedback. Now, I've talked about this before. I know a lot of people out there questioning, why are we doing this or that? Yeah, I got it. I explain to my players all the time, okay? When you get a 15-yard penalty, you've got to run that much further on the field to score. When you have a consequence of that where you have to run right away, that enforces that, hey, listen, I can't afford to make that mistake. When there's an issue with ball handling, substitution, lack of focus, whatever it may be, there needs to be some kind of reinforcement right away. It's not always running. Sometimes it is,
Joe, I want to ask you about 2 receivers, Kenny and his hamstring, and how Kadarius looked to you in his first kind of football activities there.
Yeah, I'd say like any of our players, I've been saying with KT, we're going to bring him along slowly to make sure that he's, moving at the right pace. We've had great communication with our trainers and strength staff along with him. He's definitely out there. He's doing everything we ask. I'm very pleased with the progress he's making. You can definitely see the passion on it. I know he's chomping at the bit to do more and more and more, and we'll keep bringing him along each day doing a little bit more for, for him and to see where his conditioning's at. But I was very pleased with how he's been starting off. I'm very pleased with how he worked with our trainers leading up to this process to get ready for it. In terms of Kenny, he's actually seeing a doctor this morning. We just broke meetings a second ago. I'll find out a little bit more about it. I would say in terms of a worst-case scenario, I think we've kind of avoided that in terms of dealing with it. But we'll see what the timetable looks like. And again, injuries are different for every player based on what they are, so we'll have to see how his body responds and make sure we do right by him.
Pat Leonard.
Joe, two quick ones, if you don't mind. One about the brawl. Did you have a problem with the Logan Ryan specific hit? Just seemed like obviously pushing and shoving happens, but hitting a guy in the back or the back of the neck like that, is that a scary situation? Yeah,
I would just say every time we teach our team in terms of, what is or is not acceptable, we always bring it back to football. And we always bring it back to the parameters of the game. If we have a specific tempo in practice, we're going to make sure all the players are practicing that tempo. And that was basically what a violation of was yesterday at that point of practice that led to an issue that became a bigger issue. In terms of the specific hit, instead of going through and trying to say this one is this one's not as bad and trying to dissect it down, real simple. That would have been a penalty in a game. I have a problem with penalties. We go through every day with the players. I just got done watching holdings from one-on-one. I got done watching offside penalties, illegal formations. We're going to go through it every day with the players, make sure they understand. So instead of trying to take each player a different basis of his hit wasn't that bad, this guy's hit was maybe a little bit worse, real simple. If it was a penalty, we have an issue with it.
And just real quick follow, Daniel Jones and the offense really seemed to have a strong day yesterday. What's your review of how they performed and how Daniel performed?
Look, I'm pleased with how the offense is working right now, and they have made consistent improvement. And obviously, there was a lot of plays they made yesterday. I told you the other day, there's always going to be days where the offense gets the better of the defense, and some days defense gets better of the offense. That naturally happens through training camp. There's things that happen through adjustments and installs, and some guys just come to play certain days more than other guys. But we've got to make sure that on all three sides of the ball we consistently improved. In terms of how they performed yesterday as a unit, yeah, that's what we expect of these guys, to keep making improvement right there. One thing about these guys is, look, they do compete, and they play as a unit, and they play hard. And I think that's something, as long as we keep on doing that, we clean up the execution, we eliminate bad football, they'll put themselves in position that we can have success as a team. Thanks, Pat.
Two more. We'll take two more, Duggan and Ralph. Duggan.
Hey, Joe, I've noticed Cam Brown playing inside more than at least I expected. Was that something you guys had planned, or was it due to numbers? And then how do you think he's done in there?
Well, one, I think he's making a lot of progress. I'm really pleased with the way he's playing right now in there. And that's, not a completely foreign, position for him. He's had some experience in the past, but in terms of our system, it is new for him. But that came up as an off-season decision. This wasn't anything as a result of numbers. We made the decision in the off-season to really work Cam with some inside stack and have some flex go to the edge for some pass rush situations. He's a guy that's got, good skill set. He's got some length. He is athletic. He can really run in space. So we're going to try and find him a home based on the packages. And we don't want to limit him that he can only do one thing, and then we're going ahead and we're stuck that we can't get him on the field as much as we want to. So by cross-training him right now on the edge and in the stack, that'll free us up as the season goes, as the packages change, the game plans change, that we have more people that are available to help us.
Last one here, Ralph.
Hey, Joe, two quick things. One, did everybody come out of the brawl okay yesterday, or did anybody get hurt during that?
All healthy.
All healthy, good. Also, obviously there's a lot of outside hand-wringing when people see your language, they see you running guys like that. It's a little unusual in this modern day. Are you convinced that your players respond to you the right way, and what does their response tell you about them?
Yeah, listen, we've had a great experience with our players. We've had guys in this program now for about a year and a half. We constantly communicate with these guys, we're very transparent. We explain why we do what we do. They understand that there's a goal at hand, what it's supposed to look like, and how we're supposed to get there. I think by doing that, Ralph, it kind of makes the path clear and easier to understand. You reference that in modern-day football. I've said before, I'm a little bit old school in how I believe. The coaches that really influenced me, the one thing I've really learned from some great coaches that I have had the opportunity to play or coach under is they really reaffirmed everything I learned, young in the game as a player. That's really about fundamentals, foundation. It's about discipline. It's about culture. So in terms of the modern day, I know there's a lot of people have different ways of doing things. I know there's a proven way that works. And, we're going to stick to the base fundamentals of what we believe in.